farmers and members of farming families face a whole range of different stresses, really. And I think one of the problems is that we're kind of piling up one on top of another. So obvious things like long working hours, bad weather or unpredictable weather, and if it's bad, you still have to be out there. Price volatility, paperwork and regulation comes up over and over again. Right at the minute, clearly COVID and the global pandemic. For some people, that's a real stressor, and I think particularly for livestock farmers, it's been quite difficult because the livestock auction marts, they haven't been closed, but they've adopted a drop and go policy. So basically, you drop off your stock and you head off, which sounds fine. But one of the principal functions of a livestock market is not just trading in livestock, it's that social interconnection and people just kind of hanging out with their peers. And so farmers have missed out on that for quite a long time, and that will have had an impact on their ability to cope. And another stressor that comes out a lot is a sense that farmers feeling undervalued, misunderstood, disconnected from society. And you only need spend a short amount of time on Twitter to see the amount of farmer bashing that goes on. And some of the farmers that are on the receiving end of that are in emotionally, mentally in quite a vulnerable state, and it doesn't take much of that kind of thing to make things even worse for them and make it harder for them to cope. I think generally there's a sense, particularly for many family farmers, when there's a sense that the farm's been there in the family for generations, and so you will often get situations where, and it's often a man is running the business, hasn't necessarily had a lot of experience on the business side of it, might be very good on the kind of the stockmanship and that kind of thing, and a sense that it's their watch, they're looking after it for future generations. And if these kind of stress issues come up, it can be particularly difficult for some farmers in those situations to open up and talk about it, because they feel that they should be in charge, they should be the one that's helping everybody else. And there is still this quite a traditional kind of stoicism. And so I've spoken to farmers who have been in that position and they don't speak out, and it can end up when they finally do, things have progressed into quite a difficult position. And I guess we all talk about mental health a lot, but there is still stigma around it. And I think particularly in more kind of traditional communities where there are particular genderized roles as well, it can be quite difficult for people to speak out. And so I've spoken to farmers that have had that experience. And I think the really important thing is for those that feel comfortable is talking about it, because the more we kind of normalize this, we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. Some days it's good, some days it's bad, so the more that people will talk about it and normalize it, the better, because one of the most important things is having somebody to talk to, having that kind of social buffer. So talking about it becomes really, really important part of the solution. So there's a whole range of what we call farming help charities, organisations that some of them are national, some of them are very local, that provide help and support for farmers, not just around mental health issues, but it could be a range of other things, financial issues, succession planning. And again, these are often tied into people's health and well-being anyway. Previously, pre-pandemic, they would have telephone helplines, but they would also offer some face-to-face work as well. And different organisations do it differently. Obviously, during the pandemic, those kind of face-to-face encounters have come to an end. So I know right in the very early stages of the pandemic, talking to somebody, they were only going out onto farm if there was a suicide risk. That's what would get them on the farm. Otherwise, they weren't going out face-to-face. And so as people have been working at home more, as people in these organisations have faced their own issues around illness, COVID-19, there's been real strain on the charities and for their ability to provide the kind of level of support that they had been before. One of the outcomes of this research should be to help inform government and inform DEFRA in particularly about the extent and significance of mental health problems within farming, particularly as we go through the agricultural transition. So it's become a cliche almost to say we're going through the most radical policy change for 70 years, but we are, and it's concentrated really into quite a short period of time. And I'm not entirely convinced that DEFRA are really fully aware of the extent to which this is going to impact on people's mental health, and also the extent to which people's mental health determines their ability to adjust to the new policy environment.